Aloha, aloha mai, and mahalo nui to everyone for joining us today in our different time zones, wherever we may be on this planet. My name is Mina Ellison. I am the curator at the Donkey Mill Art Center. And I'm just so honored to have this hui of artists share their work, share their stories with us here at the Donkey Mill in the exhibition Supporting Indigenous Sisters, an international print exchange, which opened on Saturday and will be on view here at the mill. That's the original chat. The exhibit will be on view at the Donkey Mill Art Center until October 15th. So we are a community art center located on the west side of Hawaii Island, which is the largest island in the chain. We are home to Tutupele, our beautiful volcano goddess. We are close to Holualoa, really in the heart of Kona coffee country. So very rich and abundant land. My ohana's here from Kona. But yeah, so mahalo nui for joining us today. Just wanted to thank a few people to start off. Melanie Yazi, Cat Pros, for organizing this incredible print exchange, portfolio exchange, and you know, what came out of questions during the I need to spotlight Melanie. You know, questions and learning during the pandemic to bring us to a place where you know, we can share our stories with each other, and really with such a heavy topic, you know, how do we really think about supporting each other? And one of the things that I've been thinking about getting to spend some time in the exhibit is, you know, the importance of listening. We are that in this, so many stories are shared in this exhibition, and we are, all of us, here to listen and really absorb it. And because, you know what, the truth is we don't have all the answers to how to, you know, how to solve this egregious problem, you know, that affects so many, not just women, families and communities. So, you know, I'm just really honored to be here with you all. Mahalo nui, Melanie, Kat, and also to Rebecca Ramos, who has loaned us her set of prints for this exhibition. So just really grateful for that. And also our, oh wait, I cannot. What is, thank you, Mel. I will spotlight you. So we are fortunate to have different programming going on during the course of the exhibition. I'd like to thank Holeka Inaba, our county councilman, who has supported this exhibit, as well as the Lila Twig Smith Art Fund, which is bringing Melanie here to the Donkey Mill at the end of September. She'll be doing a hybrid artist talk, so hopefully you can all join us. That is on September 30th. It's a Friday, I believe. And then she's going to be doing a monotype print workshop here at the Donkey Mill. So grateful to have her here and for her to join us. And yeah, and then Rebecca Ramos is also going to be doing a workshop where we're going to be sharing stories that are connected to different fabric and material that people are invited to bring with them. So we'll be creating pockets. Sorry, I cut her piece off. Her piece is right there, right behind me. So yeah, just what an incredible exhibition to share with our community here. I've learned so much about what is also going on locally. So just extremely grateful. Yay. I wanted to share some images. Okay, can you guys see this? Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, because a lot of you are not here and able to see the exhibit, I wanted to show you a few photos of the installation. We will have a professional photographer come and take photos, so just you can enjoy these ones for now. Oh goodness, why? Oh, here we go. Okay, so here's there we go. Our space. As you come in, it was so special to invite artists in the community to also participate in this exhibition. We had 3 local wahine come in and do these floral arrangements in the space as well. So also an oli that Pua Case had composed. We have a short video that she had made with Mauna Kea Education and Awareness that we also have in the exhibition space as well. So this is the oli that is featured in the space. With Maile Andrade's piece. So she won't be able to be here today, but hopefully when Melanie and Rebecca are visiting, she'll get to hook up with everyone. So as you head into the gallery, there's the video in the corner. But yeah, back wall. And I'm just amazed at how easy it is to transport this portfolio. It's like the perfect exhibition. It's really, really just such a special collection. So excited to hear more about your pieces. In the corner here, we wanted to create a moment where people could reflect and hopefully help process, the pieces and the stories that they experienced in the exhibition. So we have this back corner where people are invited to write messages of solidarity. So we have small pieces of paper where they can write with pencil messages of hope, of wisdom, gratitude for women that have had an impact on their life. Also, wisdom for other women and young girls. So we say on the panel that no one will be reading these. These are for you to reflect and to think about, put your intentions and energy into it. And then we have small pieces of kapa that are rolled, that people can roll their pieces in and tie them with a piece of hau. So all natural materials that are actually made here in Kona. And the significance of kapa, one of the things it's culturally, it was, present at important stages of one's life, from birth to marriage and even death. You wrap your iwi in kapa. So that idea that these messages are safe and held in safety and protected by this kapa is just the idea that we wanted to get that experience that we wanted to have people share. So with Lorena's piece, there's this beautiful bowl that was made by an uncle of mine, koa bowl. And then the kapa you see on the wall is actually made by local artists as well. So yeah, just some of the folks who were able to make it to our reception. Auntie Puna Kihoi did a beautiful oli and pule chant and a prayer to open up the space, to invite the ancestors, invite all of our ancestors to be there with us. So incredible moment to take time. She's like, the ancestors, they won't come if you don't ask them. You got to invite them. They need to be invited and your house got to be clean. So it was just really, really special. So these are some folks on the Mills team, along with the red scarf, Shauna Kukila from the Hawaii County Committee on the Status of Women. So she brought some resources with her to share as well. So there's Lisa Rodandi, a kapa artist, who created some of that kapa on the wall, and then Auntie Puna Kihoi and my partner, Duncan. Okay, awesome. Well, Melanie or Kat, do you have anything to say before we jump into the sharing?
Kat, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, and I sent out the code to a couple. I see Vicky was able to get on too. Good that she is here. And Amy, I sent her that code. But she's in Oaxaca, New Mexico, Oaxaca, Mexico. So we'll see if she can join us. So thank you for gathering us here today. Mina, you've done such a amazing, beautiful job. It was so beautiful to see how you've installed the work. And the components that you added to it was really heartfelt and really beautiful. This project's been a labor of love, and I'm Catherine Prose. I'm a professor of art here at Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas. And this project was a labor of love between I and Melanie. And it's really wonderful to see it travel to Hawaii, and then next month it'll be in Lubbock, Texas. So it started out as a the idea behind the portfolio came out of a conversation that Melanie and I were having within COVID or during COVID. A lot of research that I was doing on ancestry led me to thinking about my ancestry, my colonial ancestry past. And within that, I was also reading about missing and murdered Indigenous women and Two-Spirit women that I didn't know about. And I called Melanie and asked, you know, could this be a portfolio exchange? Would it be appropriate, you know, for us to organize, and how would we do it? And therein lied the collaboration of this idea of women supporting women. I come to this project as a woman, and as a woman that I've had violent experiences on my own body. And came at the project in that way as a woman trying to help support women, other women, women specifically of color. Women of color are more likely to have acts of violence perpetrated on them. And so Melanie, in her wisdom, she's organized hundreds of, if not thousands, of portfolio exchanges. And so she began to guide this project of inviting women, Indigenous women, and then women of varied backgrounds. Within this, creating the portfolio exchange, a lot of artists, because it was during COVID, didn't really want to think about the subject matter, and then also lost their ability to print in their print labs. And so it became a community effort to help. We printed 4 of the artists that were in the portfolio, including Vicky Meek, who's here today. And so we worked in tangent, going back and forth, trying to get the portfolio together. So it's what I'm really excited about is each artist celebrating or showing or exhibiting or making programs out of this portfolio exchange and bringing their community together within the program. So it has this life outside of the initial idea. So Melanie, would you like to say some words? I feel like I
think one of the things that is important to me with print exchanges is that it allows a lot of people to make a comment about a theme and to get it out to a lot of different places. I think a lot of times with artworks at times when we have our exhibitions. It might be a solo exhibit, a small group project that might be local. But what I think is really powerful about the print exchanges is we can invite people from great distances, and we all share our voices and our experiences, and we're researching similar themes, but speaking about it and making work about it in different ways. And the way that this has come together with Rebecca Ramos approaching and having the connection to the donkey mill is just like so beautiful. I met Rebecca when we were in grad school at the University of Colorado in Boulder in the early 1990s, and we became fast friends, and we've stayed in touch over the years. And so when we were thinking about Indigenous women and women from different backgrounds, she was just somebody who's always been so treasured. She knows the culture of Hawaii and the way in which we honor the land, and the land is symbolic of women. So I just feel it's so beautiful how this has come together. I started traveling to Aotearoa, the island of the long white cloud, in which most people know as New Zealand. And it was there that I met Maile Andrade and other artists from Hawaii. And so the connection to a lot of different people has come through print exchanges, artist gatherings, and these conversations that come about after we share our works with each other, which I believe are really powerful. And it's always interesting to me when we put these exchanges together, the conversations that happen with artists, the questions that arise, build relationships that are so strong. I always get this comment within the art world where people say, oh, you printmakers all know each other and are connected. And I say we are, because we do these projects and we reach out to each other. We talk about what's happening in our works, and there's this really strong community of support that takes place, which I think is really beautiful. I'm stopping there.
Well, I wanted to add,
okay.
because Melanie, you talked last time, when we were in this conversation about, joining, having younger people join, the portfolio exchange. So Andy Newberry is here, and she was a student at the time that we did that. And then you had invited.
Yes, Jordan and Laura.
Right. And then Christian Ferrier, who is here too, was another student who was an alumni student at that point in time. So encouraging that production and that thinking and being engaged in the artistic community was really important and part of this component of the project, which was Melanie's idea, this idea of keeping the young people in there.
Yep. I don't know if we can go to where I can see everyone's faces.
If you just push on view on gallery view on the right hand side.
Oh, I should know this.
Well, every time you talk, it goes to gallery view, which always like, whoa, that's not, I feel like I'm alone.
That's what's throwing me off. I'm just wondering if we can, if we can take the image down for a little bit so we can just see each other.
I can do that.
And then we can go back to it. But I think for me, it really helps to see everyone's faces.
Yeah.
And it might, I don't know if it's just teacher's mode, but
it is teacher's mode. Well, and it's also too, because I see Vicky's face here, because as we were talking about the project, Vicky had just won, was awarded the artist of Houston Artist of the Year. I'm sorry, Vicky, I'm getting that terminology wrong. She's like, no, that's not what it was.
Texas.
Yeah, the Texas Artist of the Year.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was really important. Yeah, because it was long overdue, and I really wanted Vicky to be a part of this. And simultaneously, she was involved in a solo, getting ready for a solo exhibition, I believe, at the Nasher Sculpture Center. And I'm, come on, Vicki, you got to do this. You got to do this. And so we ended up spending on the phone and video conferencing, getting the print printed for her and getting that ready. But we certainly needed that perspective within the portfolio. So it kind of bloomed. We had the artist, but then as we were asking and trying to include people, it changed and it kind of morphed as it needed to. That was meant to be.
I'm wondering if those of you who are artists, if you can introduce yourself and just talk about the initial invitation and process that you went through to make your work. And Catherine, you can call on people you know.
I can start. If you
Okay,
don't,
great.
I'm old, so I could fall asleep at any moment. So.
Are you guys, I have images of your work, or do you prefer the
I just,
gallery?
because we haven't met each other, I just really want
Yeah.
to see the artist and
Yeah.
hear their journey, and then we can go back later and see the images. But this is the first time I'm meeting a lot of these
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what's so cool about this meeting.
About,
you know?
yeah, and it's
And this could be like, you know, as this travels, this might, you know, help the
This
format
is a
for
nice
other
thing to do.
venues.
right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Because there's an emotion and there's something that happens when you actually see the artist's face, and that's what I was really excited about with this conversation.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Vicki.
Okay. Well, I'm Vicki Meek. I'm based in Dallas. And when I'm friends with Kat. So when Kat asked me to participate, she's right. I was enmeshed in a bunch of stuff, and I was like, how am I going to do this? And then she offered to actually do I'd make the image and then she would create the print, which made it possible. I should say that I always minored in printmaking. I'm a sculptor, you know, in terms of my degrees. I got my MFA in sculpture, but I always minored in printmaking. But I will also say that I never printed on paper. I was printing on plastic and vacuum forming the plastic and all of that. So it was like, I never was a traditional printmaker. So it was great to be a part of a project where it took me back to my initial training. And when Kat asked me to get involved with this, you know, I was very interested in the topic. I did not know as much as I probably should have known about how critical the issue was. I have a very close friend here, Jody Yellowfish, who is actually the Texas, what's her actual title is, she's the founder of the Texas Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women organization, and they call it Texas Missing MMIW. And so Jody was able to give me some insights around how this has been impacting our state. And so when I came up with the image that I came up with, it was because I was thinking about how invisible these women have been for so many of us who are not in the Indigenous community. I don't recall seeing any major, you know, stories on television, in the newspapers, or anywhere else about any of these women that have gone missing. And I do remember seeing such things done when the victims were white. So it was like, oh, there's this really big difference between looking for a white child who's been snatched or looking for a child of color. Because the same thing happens in the Black community. There's a number of Black kids that have disappeared and nobody's been looking for them, except their parents and friends, etc. So that was kind of my initial investigation was, let's see how many are we talking about. And then when I found out that the number was like over 5,000, it was just mind-boggling to me. So the piece that I did was looking at the fact that America values its national parks more than it values its human beings who were the original people in this community, that many of these quote, national parks were in fact the homelands of many of these indigenous tribes. And that was what I was basing my image on. I had these images of these park states, the states where these parks were, and then the number of missing or murdered indigenous women from those different states. And the Band-Aids that I put on these places, it was because, you know, you've heard that sort of statement of how we're just putting a Band-Aid on a major problem, but it really needs surgery. That was the thinking that I had around using the Band-Aid as a metaphor for the way in which America has approached this crisis. The numbers in there are the numbers in those states of the missing or murdered indigenous women, the total being the 5,712 in the country. So that's the image that I came up with.
And I wanted to add that Vicki took her folio and presented it in Dallas at the community center. I'm sorry, I really rolled here right after class, so my mind's having a hard time shifting.
I can tell. We did it. We partnered with an organization called Artstillery, which has a space, and we partnered with Artstillery and the Texas Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Organization, and had a fabulous opening for the show. The organization that Jody is head of did an opening. We had poetry, we had a prayer, we had a lot of the people who came were from the indigenous community. And then we did a similar thing. We had a table where I asked people to look at the artwork and then respond to a piece in writing and leave that for us. And so that happened as well. And then there was some ceremonial dancing as well that took place. So it was really a beautiful evening. A lot of people showed up and we were happy about that, so.
Catherine, you know most of the other artists, so I'll let you introduce who will go next.
Well, so Andy, who is now under Melanie's wing in graduate school in Colorado. If you could just talk a little bit about, and Andy was also involved with printing, you know, helping to print Vicki's prints and Amy's print, and also we did Vicki and Amy and Anna Hoover. I felt like there was a fourth one there. Well, yours and mine.
Yeah, it felt like a lot at the time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy.
It was a really good experience to be printing for the other artists. I felt like that kind of had me have a bit more intimacy with certain prints than others, because we were involved in going back and forth with the artist and figuring out what color adjustments or layer adjustments needed to be done, and then just kind of fighting through the process of printing, accepting that things are going to go wrong. So I felt like I did develop a really intimate relationship through a lot of these, and it showed me like the power of collaboration and community in printing. And this was my first, I had helped Kat collaborate on a piece in a print exchange before this, but this was my first time creating my own edition. So when Kat asked me, I was very intimidated to do this. And I also was a bit scared because I wanted to navigate the topic with sensitivity and approach it with my own experiences, because that's where I feel I can speak the most on, but also with the understanding that there are certain parts of this problem that I can never fully understand as a white woman. So I really wanted to find that balance of my own experience and also with trying to more amplify the issue and the voices of the other women, which I feel like is a big strength of this exchange, in that it does have that balance of voices. So there's uplifting, but there's also coming from the source of this pain. So I felt like that was very important. But yeah, it was a great, and then I went on later that semester to create my own exchange. So this really taught me a lot, not just about the topic, but just about the power of print exchanges and being a part of that collaborative process.
Could we maybe look at Andy's piece really quick, and you can maybe tell us a little bit about that imagery?
Mm-hmm. So with this piece, I featured my own image, and I was looking a lot at Pulp Fiction horror novel illustrations, because they really feature, and it's like almost morbidly fascinating. There's almost always like a woman, and she's usually like very scantily clad, and she's like turning away from the monster, like at the point of danger, she's turning and running. So I was really interested in using that imagery for myself, because especially in my undergrad years, I felt like it was almost inevitable that I would experience some kind of violence on my body. So I kind of used my own image to show this moment of realization. But I wanted to do like the targets or the circles to kind of show where this issue or this danger would be amplified for other women. And then the plastic bag I want to point to, it was kind of an image that I was kind of obsessed with drawing at the time. Kat can tell you, like, pretty much all my drawing pieces had plastic bags in them. I just really liked the movement and lines of them, but I put it in this piece because I felt when I was doing my research that there's a huge intersection between the issue of missing Indigenous women and environmental issues, because places where pipelines go through native land, which are very highly protested, and then those protesters were often met with violence from police. But so when these pipelines are built, there's huge concentrations of workers who are usually men that are staying on this land. So there's like a direct connection to those groups of men in those invasive projects. There's a direct connection between those and the violence. So I thought that that was just a small way of opening up that conversation and thinking about how this issue is multi-layered and overlaps with a lot of different social justice issues. And I think that's it mostly for my discussing the piece itself. I was also thinking a lot about using the eyes as something that is kind of always watching or always being endangered, and then this enclosing space. So yeah.
Thanks, Andy. And then, so Kristen Ferrier is one of the artists. She's one of our alumni. She was alumni at the time as well. And she was, well, at the time that we asked, but she was able to meet Melanie when Melanie came, you know, for some workshops. So Kristen, do you want to talk a little bit?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Yeah, so my name is Kristen Ferrier, and Kat was my professor in college. And I do want to give a shout out to Melanie, because she said something to me in college that has always stuck with me. And I don't think I ever truly grasped it, what it meant at the time, until a few years later, because when I was asked to do this project, I was in a very bad mental place. Now, I think, Kat, when I met you, I wasn't in a total right state of mind and stuff when I handed this over to you, because I think I was pretty emotional. But I'm kind of seeing things from a different perspective and what my intention was, looking back at all the art pieces I've ever done. But I want to thank Melanie, because you actually told me something, because I've always wanted to feel like I was trying to save everyone. And it was a lot for me to start feeling that pressure to want to take on. And you told me what, like in college, what I was doing was enough, and it's always stuck with me. So I wanted to thank you, because for a while I stopped doing my artwork, and I recently got back into it, and I started feeling grounded again. So Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous at speaking, so if I'm a little bit stuttery, I apologize. But I'm originally from Wichita Falls, Texas, and but for the past year, I've been living in Moore, Oklahoma, right outside of Oklahoma City. And before I start talking about my artwork, I think it's important for me to start talking about like the background about what led me to do the project and how the creative process was for me. One thing I've always struggled with as a woman and just as an artist is I've never been able to share my own voice and my own story. I've never been able to share some of my experiences I went through or went through as a child, or some of the things I went through growing up, even through my art. So it was always really important for me to be able to share the story for those who no longer had a voice, or for those who are too afraid to share theirs, especially those for children. They've always been a really sole focus of mine. But I think in a way, in my mind, looking back on it, I'm not only helping try to save them, but I think I was also trying to save my younger self as well. And so when Kat asked me to do this project, it was something I just knew I had to do. And so I had some surface level knowledge of the subject matter just based off of podcasts I've listened to over missing women. But I wanted to do more research. So I found this book called The Highway of Tears by Jessica McDiarmid. Probably said her last name wrong. But this book was about Highway 16, and it was a stretch road between Prince George and Prince Rupert in British Columbia, Canada. And this stretch of road, it was largely isolated and remote. Many women had to hitchhike along that road as a necessary means of travel to work or school or to visit friends and family. Many women, there was also there was a lack of bus transportation. It was a remote, it was isolated area. And so many women just had to hitchhike. And so this was a location of many missing and murdered Indigenous women. And it was started in 1970 to current times. And the book stood out to me because it called for real attention to the women that were behind the statistics. These women, they were more than just a number, and I felt like it was my duty and it was my obligation to learn about who they were as people when they were a part of this world. So the book, it highlighted the girls and who they were through photos, through the perspective of their loved ones. It told you of their hopes and their dreams as young women. It even showed you their personalities and their failures. You truly saw them as the people that they were. And so when these women went missing, they were dismissed as runaways or risk-partaking individuals. That resulted in a delay of the gathering of evidence and to find these women. And so the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, they blamed the victims. It was very victim blaming. And the book, it showed me the grave injustice that was done to these women, and the lack of care that they were given. The women and the girls lost in the highway, they have not received justice that they deserve. But I believe by telling their stories and how that we're doing now and making them the human beings that they were, and by shining the light on the injustice system and society that failed them, this is the way that we're keeping them alive and creating the change that we're needing to help them and the other women across the world. But so immediately kind of after I was done, reading the book, I felt I was in mourning for the loss of these women, and some of their names were Ramona, Alberta, Cecilia, Delphine, Roxanne, Alicia, Lana, Bonnie, Alea, Tamara, and Virginia. And they were just few of many, but I was in mourning. I was angry. I thought about how their last moments and how it could have been like. I thought about how they felt. I thought about how the family felt. I thought of how it must feel to be screaming in a world where no one wants to listen, how desperate they must have felt to be heard, seek help from a justice system that didn't care. For someone to cross paths with their daughter and to feel they had the power to take them away and throw them out like garbage. So I began drawing, and I wanted to portray the pain of these families. I wanted others to see their pain. I wanted them to know I heard them, that I felt the loss of these women I never knew, and I cried for these women I never knew, and I still think about them today. I portrayed these women in this piece as red dresses. A red dress became very symbolic through the art series called The Red Dress Project, and it raises awareness of the epidemic of the violence against Indigenous women. And so they would intentionally place these red dresses in the locations of the missing women. So I was inspired to continue that symbolism in my artwork as well. And I believe the red gives them that call of attention that they never had. And I used watercolor to represent the flow of blood, to represent not only them as living human beings, but also to address the flow of blood of each and every murdered and missing woman. I placed the parental figure in my piece in a forest because I felt many parents wept on that highway of tears in an echoing and haunting way, where their cries went unheard, and many of these women didn't even get us so much as a search party for them. The hawk, it was kind of a symbolism of two things for me. You know, I believe in some stories I've heard that hawks, they were observed as messengers from the other side, and if a person faces a family loss, that when they cross paths with the hawk, it was believed that that soul of this deceased would come back to visit its family members. And then I also thought how it represented how they will continue to like live on through the strength that we give them by giving them a voice that was never heard. So I kind of, this was a very emotional piece for me. And I feel like after the research I did, and I kind of poured everything I felt and still feel through this piece. And so I was very honored to be asked to be a part of this project with all of you. And so I thank you. Thank you for listening to me. But I think that's it.
Thanks, Kristen. That was
Wow,
beautiful.
Thank you. Wow.
Well, Melody, Rebecca. Hi,
Yes.
Rebecca. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Rebecca, would you like to talk about, I guess, how you came to your image and the project and the interaction or the idea of taking it to Donkey Mill?
Oh, gosh, that's a lot. That's a lot to start with. Well, Donkey Mill. I always tell people, I have this friend on the Big Island. Her name is Nina. I've never had a younger sister before, but I have a sister on the Big Island now. And you know, when we had that portfolio come in, and to have Nina so invested and heartfelt about what she does within the arts and for community, and you know, finding a place to be with people who work from the heart and from who they are. I thought it would be just a really nice way to take a little step out there for me and share this portfolio in this way. It's so funny to receive that project in the mail and open the box and look at the pieces and read the statements and know what the experience was, and then just close the box and put it away. And that didn't feel right. And so it just felt like, okay, so this is definitely resting right now because it's going to have a life out there in the world. And so I felt that it was, I felt that the Donkey Mill, for me, bringing that work back to Hawaii where I grew up, was important for my life experience. As a representative on the project, I'm coming from California, but really I was raised in Hawaii, and personal experiences of being friends of girls who were taken, or also having a predator element in my neighborhoods when I was growing up. I just felt that it was really important for me to bring back my work to Hawaii, and the Donkey Mill feels like the place where I wanted it to be, as opposed to a museum or a big gallery, a commercial gallery. And I wanted it to be outside of the educational institutions too. I just wanted it to be in a neighborhood where everybody can come in and especially where they're Kiki, where they're younger people coming in and making artwork, and whether they pick up on it or not. I think that the portfolio and the experience, there's so many echoes, there's so many resonances, and in a way, it built a direct community, kind of long distance, but the print portfolio builds a community, and I just think about myself as growing up there and having my own experiences. And if I had known there was a community that was watching this, that there were witnesses, that there was some sort of holding of this particular reality that is there, I would have felt comforted a little bit more. So anyway, a couple of different reasons for the donkey mill. And with that, my experience of working on this was pretty soon into it. I was very honored to be asked to be part of this. And another part of my biography is that I was born in Alaska, and I was there for 5 years. I have a lot of family up there. And so when I think about the Indigenous sisters in these two places that I call home, there's this deep sort of nonverbal sort of response I have. And for me and in my own life, I think what I would welcomed was this idea of having a resting place offered to me, and a resting place. And what I could do as part of the project is offer a resting place to those other sisters and to all of you and to everybody to come. Knowing that those last moments in these lives, whether they continue to survive or not, the violent pain of it all, I can feel. I can feel bodies and heads hitting on ground and pebbles being ground into their skin. I can feel all of that, and I can feel impact, and I can feel silent cries. And I wanted to offer another moment of the story, and that is why I came up with the pillowcase. And I think for me, pillowcases, they are a place of dreams, and they offer that softness, but they also offer our most intimate time back to us. And that's what I felt like I wanted to give and offer. And that little pocket, I think about the pockets in terms of reinforcing, where we tuck little things. I have little notes tucked under books that are behind me in bed, and they're like little notes that people have given me. And so I have these little keepsakes, and I think that a pocket near our heads and in our cheeks and just being in that soft cradle is intimate, and it's a nice image for me to feel about where we keep our dreams, and not wanting to be melodramatic. However, knowing that so many dreams have not been continued or fulfilled by these lives that have been lost and tragically affected, and our own dreams, our own dreams, these parts of feeling endangered or preyed upon, those trickle into our dreams. And for me, I'm at the time of my artwork where I really do want to offer another moment in the story, and that is the moment of what can be offered in response to learning about something, or what can be offered in response to a topic that's being talked about and experienced. it was important for me to hand sew, because I've always sewn in my work, and to have that act of time passing, that evidence of hand, that evidence of woman's hand or girl's hand, doing all those stitches that we share across centuries and across cultures, in terms of, that's we get to see time, we get to see the hand. And it was serendipitous for me to find the whole cloth that could be easily turned into the size of the pillowcase. Finally, what I did for imagery was I went back to a plate of mine. It's a copper plate of mine that I have a photograph of the blossom, and then I drew the blossom again, and then I got those on the same copper plate, and printed those on the fabric, and cut them in half, and then sewed them. So each pillowcase has a sister pillowcase. The blossom is something that is kokio. It is from the mountains. It is indigenous endemic, I believe, to Hawaii. There's one from Oahu. They grow at a particular elevation in the mountains, and I think the thing for me is that they are endangered, and different varieties are extinct on different islands. And in my work for looking for native plants, I've found some of these that have been perpetuated in arboretums and gardens. So I've been able to visit them. This is where all of my words get kind of jumbled, but one of the things that happens in Hawaii is that there's different levels of the land, and I wanted something that got close to the Wauakua, the place of the spirits, and there are parts of the forest that are forbidden to go into, and the reason why they're forbidden is because they're at the top of the watershed, and that water is life. And so to have I don't know, I was just thinking about all of that endangered, protection, revered, acknowledged, that there's life sources that we need to protect. And it just was so poetically involved in all these thoughts that I had around this project. That's why I wanted to go forward with that imagery, and every part about it just kind of worked out really nicely for me. So I guess that's it. Thanks for listening.
Well, I just want to say, when we got your portfolio, Rebecca, and opened it, like, I was like, Andy, you come here, you have to see this. I just couldn't believe it. It was, first of all, doing an intaglio in fabric, which Andy at the time was messing around with. I was like, what are you, nuts? Like, why are you doing that? And it was just so beautiful. And I was crying. Like, I just couldn't. In my own personal artwork, I get so caught up in the reasons why, and, the layered reasons why, religion, colonialism, all of these things. And just to have that moment, as you were describing, of just stop. We all lay our head, we all have the dreams, and it was just so beautiful. So it blew my socks off. So, and it's one of those things that, because I was looking at the photographs that we did, and for each site, I'm trying to keep a Google file folder of everything, so when it goes on, people can try to pull from it. And you can't document that, there's nothing you can do to document it for people to understand that it's hand sewn and, has all of these components to it. So somebody hopefully along the way will figure out how to document that properly.
Oh, thanks, Catherine.
And Rebecca, it was so beautiful, and actually Kat too. some of you included a poem with your piece that we had up to, and I was like, oh, I think all artwork should have an accompanying poem to it. But anyway, it's so beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. So how did the poem come up? How did that evolve?
For my artwork, and it's
Yeah.
funny because in undergraduate school, I used to do poems. It just as a way of thinking about how to do, how to think about the piece and craft my own artist statements. And then you get so locked into your artist statements that I forgot about the, poetry. And so it, it seemed to kind of explain it without over explaining it. You know what I mean? In a didactic way. And so I don't know that I'm any good at writing a poem or anything like that. It just, it came to me, and it made sense as I was looking over the piece. I knew that I was taking components of, as Kristen did too, and a couple of other artists did too. We were looking at Jaime Black's Red Dress project, and how impactful that was. And so it kind of seeped into the imagery. But I've also, my mom turns 80 this year, and I'm sorry, I just got emotional really quickly. And so capturing her in my artwork has become really important to me. And so I've been having her take her handwriting and identify things in my artwork. And I think about my mom and her stubbornness and, all of these things that I think could aid somebody in need. And so that poem just kind of came about, thinking about things that I would want to give somebody who is in fear of their life, how I know all of those sorts of things. And so the poem just, came about, and it seemed better than just explaining all of the parts. So.
Was that similar for you, Rebecca, too?
Yeah, for the most part. I wanted to be able to describe the piece, and I have a hard time with words a lot of the time. And so, I walk, I work on these things when I'm walking, right? And I take all these long walks, and what happened was that the title of the piece, Pocket Full of Dreams, I just kept pacing with it just naturally in my head. And then the different lines just came. And so it was a way for me to have the words. It was a way for me to be able to use the words that were appearing, as opposed for me to write the sentences that I was having a hard time thinking. And so I just kept taking this walk, and these different words would fit themselves in, and it just came out that way. And I thought it's just going to have to come in a poem form. But I liked the experience. I really did. It was unexpected and unplanned, and it allowed me to put something in word form that I felt like captured how I was feeling.
Right on. Wow.
Yeah, several of the artists did include poems, I think more than normal portfolio exchanges, although Melanie can speak to that, I don't know.
I think what's really beautiful about the whole project is that everyone has done research into different areas, and we're hearing at each gathering that we've been doing, we're hearing different aspects of this project. And I hope that this project can call out to other people to maybe start another project, because what is powerful about this is giving permission to women to speak about these things and acknowledge this history that we all share of violence against women or violence within our family groups. And I think a lot of times people don't talk about these things or share this, and so we kind of are hidden in our own places of being afraid. And what I love about Rebecca taking it to the Donkey Mill is that it isn't a community where people can respond to it, leave messages, and that you all had this idea to bring us all onto a Zoom so we can meet each other and see each other. And we've been living with each other's work. And I get to see Kirsten again. I met her when she was there when I went to the school, and one of your pieces lives on my office door. And I just, the community that's built within our community of artists is so beautiful, and this sharing is healing. And I'm hoping that when people see this, that they're able to speak about things that they're going through, and that they know that they can get out of situations that might be difficult. I think a lot of times when I'm in class with my students and we have like fall break, winter break, and spring break or summer, I always tell them, I know you're traveling, but trust your gut. If you're in a situation that feels wrong, like just get out of it. If you need permission, tell them that your auntie or grandma Yazi said you had to leave. Because I just think so often as young women, we don't know that we have the power to leave something or to get out of a situation. And so communities of artists speaking and sharing together like this, I think it's just so valuable that we're able to do this, to give each other strength. And even if some aren't actively participating, the listening that you speak of is just gigantic. All the listening that happens, and somehow it filters into us and gives us permission to be stronger as time passes.
Wow. Melanie and Kat, do you guys who wants to go first? Talk about your work.
Kat, why don't you go?
Well, and I'll just read the poem along, with the work. Let me grab it up. Whoops. Exit full screen. So, and I'll read, kind of my way of thinking about this, and which I put on my statement, which one of my deepest, darkest worries in life is having a loved one die in fear and under the hand of hate. This is a thought that I keep coming back to while reading and learning and understanding how federal laws, colonial laws, limit tribal protections of women. These women, all of them, had their last experiences on earth in fear. And there is over 500 years of layered infrastructure that contributed to and continues to contribute to these fearful deaths. And then I have this quote that I want to read by Melinda Limberhand, the mother of Hannah Harris, who was murdered in 2013 on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation. And she said, bad people commit these horrible crimes against Native women, but it's the system that allows it to keep happening generation after generation. And that's what Vicki was speaking to, within her piece. So my poem is Daisy Protecting Our Indigenous Sisters. Birds unify heaven and earth. Hummingbirds bring love, joy, and healing. Blue is our tears, and blue is the water that cleans our wounds. Red dresses symbolize Jaime Black's expression of grief we all share, pointing to religion overshadowing everything, and primordial man fighting. I give you my mother's handwriting, faithfully strong-willed. I give you a fierce bear claw, deliberate in action. I give you the medicine of the playfulness of the quaking aspen. I give you my companion, Daisy, to keep watch and to warn you of danger. So, as I said, I get I have several parts in the way that I work, and this is one of them, like putting everything in the artwork, everything I can think of that's contributing to the problem. In other works, I might be a little bit more abstracted. But this work is, it's pointing to, climate change. You can see trash that's strewn out over the print, the wind turbines on the horizon. And then this long shadow, the cast shadow of religion over the way that we think and about women, and that we think about nature are kind of analogous. If you want to know how a culture thinks about women or thinks about nature, see how they treat both of them. We'll kind of point to that. And then I put some flowers that are indigenous from Oklahoma, where I grew up. The prairie orchid flower, the cone flower, and the aspen leaves, and all of the handwriting is of my mother identifying these things. And then fire points to destruction, but also climate change. The image of the two primates, but it's early man fighting, that violence, that aggression, that's not channeled in other places, that's taken out on people, that small people, to make themselves feel larger. So so that's a little bit about the print. I've got I have this thing about circles and, a little bit of sparkly, it helps with composition. But it's also, I used it to identify, I did a series of work of endangered species, and it came and grew out of that. But now it's like this compositional element that you think is bringing unity, but could it be harmful? Or could it be, aesthetically pleasing? You're not quite sure. So this is all, and this is all screen printed, except for the little vinyl dots on there. So Melanie?
Yeah. I love seeing everybody's work and hearing everyone speak about it. Yeah, if you pull up my image, and I can talk a little bit about it. So my name's Melanie Yazzie, and this is the multi-layered screen print that I put together. I have map imagery in a lot of my work, and this image has an image of Farmington, which is on the border of the Navajo reservation. There's been a lot of really terrible racist things that have taken place on this border town to my reservation. And I have this transparent layer of like prayers, transformation with the dragonflies, hearts for the heartache, and sending out love. In the print, that when you see it up close, you can see statistics from 1993 of different problems that happen within our communities. I can't see it from the image, but when you see the print up close, you can see some of that statistics, and a lot of it hasn't changed from that time period. And 1993 was a time when I was finishing up my graduate degree at CU Boulder, and I was looking at my community and what was happening at home a lot. And I just found it really interesting that not much has changed. And it goes back to the whole thing that a lot of these things happen and people don't talk about it. And on the surface of the print, there are these blue little figurines that are like little dolls or images of wounded people, and I have them bandaged and wrapped. And I wanted the print to be sewn on top of that really light layer of another print in the background to just give it a resting place. And But I think all of these issues are multi-layered with so many different things in our communities that, again, so often we don't want to speak about, or we don't want to spend time talking about, but it's in the sharing and opening up and not being afraid to share these things that we give each other permission to be strong and to leave difficult situations. I think that that's something that I've just, with my art and with the projects I do and teaching art, is trying to have people learn how to share their stories of who they are, where they're coming from, so that they become strong and understand their own personal histories and how they are in this world and who they are, to give them strength to speak out in times that we need those voices to come forward. So there's all of that in this work that I've offered for the project. And I just am so grateful to all of you who brought your images and your research to each of the prints in this project. And I encourage all of you to share the prints in different locations, and those who aren't a part of the project, maybe start a project. I wanted to give a shout out to Alana, who's here, because she's worked on other projects that deal with women and abuse, and I would love to hear from you, Alana, about your projects and how, when you're hearing some of these stories, what you think about.
I don't know why I assumed that you were going to do this. I waited in my car because I have an opening I'm waiting to get to, but it's fine. But yes, I think it was fantastic hearing everyone's story, because it's such a huge part of my work, talking about the place of women, especially in home situations and outside of the home. That one of the projects was my most recent project I organized was domicile dedication. I also did an underwear project that was kind of based around this as well, which was meant to kind of start these conversations of the stuff that we don't want to talk about, the taboo subjects. And it's amazing because the people in the project all make such different work, and then they all present this work and show this work. And I think that's so vital to the messages and the importance of, and this is why this project is so amazing. I was so glad I was able to sit down and hear everyone's different perspectives and where they're showing work. And the fact that it's in Hawaii is like amazing, because I'm so glad that like Cat Pros and Andy and Yazzie and all these amazing people are able to show work from all over the place, because I think that's the importance of print exchanges, which is amazing. So this has been awesome.
Thank you so much. And I know that you've been sharing other projects at your school, and if you want this project to be shown at your school, just let us know and one of us can get our set to you, because it would be wonderful to have it there in Tyler, Texas, the city of roses.
Yeah, I would love that. I just showed one of Yazzie's past projects. That was the Pangolin project, which is about endangered species. And I actually use that project to talk about the way that we handle immigration, and also the way we handle people that are victims of rape or sexual assault, and how they are usually prosecuted if they retaliate. So it's amazing, because I was able to help that project up. So I might just go drive to Kat and steal her project to show.
Well, and what I love about printmaking too is like encouraging people to come out and make prints that normally make prints. You know, Vicki is a installation artist, you know, and as she said, she has this love for printmaking, but kind of getting her to get out of that zone and make a print with us is awesome. Get the sculptress into the print lab.
Minna, I don't know if you have other questions, or maybe other people, if they have questions for each other, that would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. If anybody has questions for each other, and we can go ahead and share that. Yeah.
I think I'm not sure if everyone's shy, but I just wanted again to thank the Donkey Mill for hosting this project and just being so amazing about how you're handling it with such beautiful respect. And I love that the opening happened and people, like, just in the way in which you've offered prayer and ceremony. And I think the way that Vicky was speaking about the other opening where a dance and celebrations of coming together happen around a difficult subject, but the respect that it's being given in the different places. I just think that's really powerful how each person who's showing it has this sense of responsibility and a sense of like wanting to heighten the level of the works and the story and to include more people. And I think that's what's so powerful about this.
Just the earlier conversations with you too, Melanie. I mean, you really set us up for success. Oh, aloha, Vicky. Mahalo, mahalo for joining us. Come visit. No. We're in our conversations. We were laughing, we were crying, and we were you were sharing it's about uplifting the voices, and there was that hope there. There was that togetherness, and there was that joy out of a very dark place, which I really appreciated and really set me up to understand what this project was about, and it made it lighter for me, that Kuleana wasn't so heavy because I could understand the brightness, and you'll notice we the orange color, we use this orange and the green from Lorena's piece to really bring that out, that hope, that brightness. She has the flower growing out of the heart, and then conversations with Rebecca when she dropped when we were looking through the portfolio, and she mentioned to me, how are you going to create a space that people feel comfortable and safe? And I was like, oh, kind of, it did, you always want to do that in the exhibitions, but it threw me off. And I was like, wow, like, how are we going to do that? We have to be extremely intentional about the way that we are presenting it, the way that we are carrying it for our visitors and for our community. So, all the conversations really helped me understand and hopefully, carry it in a way that people who feel that they feel in this exhibit. So,
maybe in just bringing it back around to a closing, I was just hoping that maybe we could hear a couple of parting words from Andy, Kristen, Rebecca, and Catherine, and then that would be beautiful.
I can say a bit kind of relating to what Mina was just talking about when considering the space of the exhibit. I've noticed throughout this project that there's always the element of hope and joy that come through creating artwork, even though it is such a devastating topic. And last year or earlier this year, I don't remember, but we had a portfolio reading at the university museum at Midwestern State University, and we had a really big turnout for that. And we had me and a few other artists, Kat and Morgan Page, who is also a professor at MSU, talk about our own pieces, and then also invited other professors who are in the Spanish department or the history department to read about an artist's work. And they had to really contextualize themselves because they're coming in from this other perspective. But I felt that event, bringing in not just artists from different perspectives, but people from different disciplines, it became a very valuable conversation. And I sobbed through like the second half of my talk that night, but it still felt like not something that was so heavy. And so just focused on the cruelty of this epidemic, there's also the aspect of hope and moving forward and what we can do when we uplift their voices and pay attention to their stories like Kristen did. I thought that was very beautiful.
Thank you. Kristen?
Oh, I loved hearing about what all you guys had to say and hearing everyone's story and the different versions and perspectives of how they took this project. I think especially with what Andy's piece was getting me pretty emotional too, with what some of the stuff that she said she went through. I think eventually it's gonna give me courage to start probably telling my own story. And Melanie, with you, I gave myself some relief with not trying to save everyone. Considering I'm one person, and that having people listen and reaching out to the few people that you do, it can be as just impactful. And so I've been in a better state than I was the past few years. I've been kind of confronting my past and accepting some of the stuff that's happened to me. I haven't been ready to talk about it, but I've been getting some help over it. So hearing all you guys' story and stuff gave me strength and courage. So thank you. And I was very grateful and still am to be among all of you artists in this portfolio exchange, and being able to tell these women's stories, being some sort of kind of vessel for their voices to come through, because their voices deserve to be heard. They're human beings like every one of us. And this is a topic I always keep up with, and it's haunting, and all these women stay with me, and it's very hard for me to talk about this stuff, especially when I listen to it all of the time. But yes, thank you again, and it was nice meeting everyone, and I'm happy to have seen all of your faces.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, I just wanted to thank you for sharing the names of those women. That is very powerful, and just mahalo. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you. I highly recommend that book. It was very powerful, and the writer did an outstanding job of addressing all of the issues within the subject matter, and it was just amazing. It was The Highway of Tears by Jessica Drearman. I can't say her last name, but it's if you say The Highway of Tears book, you'll see it.
Thank you so much. I'll go next, and either Kat or Rebecca could go after me. And I, again, just wanted to thank the Donkey Mill and everyone in the project for being so honest and for doing the hard work of sharing this. I think part of the talking about these things and becoming more open with these things, I think it filters down to others in our communities who might do a bad thing or treat somebody in a bad way, that when we start speaking about how it's touched us or sharing our own experiences and being more vocal about it, I think it plants a seed of like, don't do this to women, or women are becoming stronger to speak out and share this. And because I think so often in our histories, it's so painful, so shameful and hard to share what's happened with us and with these situations, that it creates this place of safety for people who commit these acts. And part of all of this and the sharing and the speaking about it is to make it more vocal and say, we see you, we see, and we're supporting each other, and we can become stronger by sharing and talking about it. And we're not going to stay quiet about this.
I'll go next so Rebecca can lead us off. I just want to say thank you, Melanie and Rebecca and Donkey Mill. Mina, wow, you've done a heartfelt, beautiful job on this. Thank you guys so much for bringing it to your community and everything you did. And I can see that the way that you hung it was very strategic, and how you were going to place it and having the statements out was just beautiful. And I continue, like learning and meeting new people through this portfolio. Vicki mentioned Jody Yellowfish, and she gave us some really wonderful information about, because in her position, she's not, she's dealing with all communities of color who are coming to her, that don't feel like that they have a road into you know, law enforcement and that sort of thing. So she's developed this wonderful, and she's gone through some sickness, and so, but she's going to be developing this flyer that gives information about what the first things families should do if someone goes missing. Information like don't put your number on flyers because people will call and try to, you know, ask for ransom. All of these kind of points. Unfortunately, she, you know, we need to send her some love in the air. She's on having some sickness, but meeting people like that and trying to build this information, so the next place it goes, the next place it goes, and then hopefully, like Melanie's saying, somebody will pick up maybe a portfolio too, you know, and that will happen. That would be, you know, wonderful. So I'm so thankful for all of you guys being on here and seeing your faces and getting to know your heart and your souls. So thank you.
Well, I can tell you what I'm thinking now, and that is I keep seeing all of us involved in this portfolio by ourselves, pulling our prints. And I keep thinking about our bodies, and what we do with our bodies is already comforting. And for some reason, we are comforted by that repetition. And I think about that repetition, and I think about every time we've pulled this print, we've witnessed. And I think that that's one of the things that we've done subconsciously or consciously for ourselves, and that is to be able to do what we can do, and that is to witness again and again and again. And with that, I think that it's a blessing that we make prints. Sometimes we call ourselves printmakers, sometimes we say I make prints, but there's something about that. And so for that, I wish everybody that part of self-care and caring for yourself, to be doing what you can do, to be giving yourself that quiet time, to be witnessing when you need to witness, with a soft voice, you know, by yourselves in your studios. And then the other thing I would like to share is having that relationship with the materials that we all use, that soft touch, that creaminess of the ink, the stirring or the magic of the colors. And for me, it was being cloaked in all of that fabric. And that was also part of I didn't know I needed it, but I needed that self-care just to be surrounded in softness while I was working on something that was so hard. And what I wish for you and for all of us and for other people to come is that we find ourselves doing those activities as an act of self-care, knowing that regardless of whether it becomes artwork or not, it's part of who we are and what we need. So thanks.
Mahalo, mahalo nui, Rebecca. That was beautiful. And I think too that self-care is also an act of resistance. You know, same with being kind, same with listening. That is resistance. That is protest against this system that we can find ourselves in. So thank you. It was beautiful. Ooh, well, it's 1:38. What a great time to share together. I am so, my heart feels full. We do, Miho is saying, yes, we do look forward to seeing you all, hopefully in person, if not online. And the donkey mill. We are here maybe in a year or two. If you find yourself, being able to come to Hawaii, please do reach out to us, because through this project, the support is there and it can come in different forms. And I just feel honored to be in this circle of powerful wahine. So mahalo, mahalo nui. We did record this, so if you guys are okay, we will probably put it on our YouTube. If anyone has any concerns, please email me and we can be in touch. Miho, did you want to share anything?
Sorry, I was just listening. It was really
No.
amazing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being generous with your process and your stories. I think this is exactly coming through the gallery.
Sorry, wrong button.
It's already happening, people are, because you have to take the time, because you have this sense of image and you have to wonder what it's all about, and then you read and then you go through this one at a time and it slows the time down, and then you have this place to really reflect what you're absorbing, and be able to offer something if you want to. And I think it's a beautiful sort of ceremony like experience. So your work is beautiful. This storytelling here was really amazing. I don't know what to say, but it's just so valuable that we can do this. So thank you so much for being here and being so open. So I don't know what else to say. I'm just
okay. No.
and I just,
that was
everything that everyone has said. It's so important. So I'm glad that this has been recorded, so I can share this with other artists, other women, other printmakers, and encourage participation, encourage to learn, and also inspire to tell more stories. Thank you. And I can't wait to.
I know. Yes. So,
and I love the young printmakers. I just looked you guys up on Instagram, and just awesome. Awesome. It's so valuable to have this range of age and heart and ideas flowing. Brilliant. Thank you for putting this project together.
Mahalo. Mahalo nui, everyone. If you'd like to unmute and say aloha or do some screams, just kidding.
I'll just say Hagona, which is how we say goodbye in Navajo. Hagona, everybody, take care, be safe. And I'm here in Colorado when anybody wants to come visit.
Yay. I'll put you up in Texas anytime.
Yeah.
Keep you safe.
Oh, you guys better watch out.
All right. Well,
Would love it.
I'm gonna go ahead and sign off
Yeah.
because my animals are needing attention.
Yes. Mahalo, mahalo nui, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Peace to
Bye.
everybody.
Lovely work. Thank you.
Bye.
Aloha.